Okay, hi everybody. We are in the back room where we normally do our painting. And here, do you want to open this? We have some new stuff from Arteza, so I thought I'd do a quick unboxing and then maybe we can do a quick sample here. So you guys have seen Leah and I do paint pours before. Well, Arteza has now come out with new acrylic pouring paints. Okay, and just to give you guys an idea, it's 32 colors, but in those 32 colors you do get 4 whites and 2 blacks, which is really nice because those are the colors that we use most often with doing like the edges and things like that. And this is the time of year when I really get into the painting because it's winter time. We can't go outside. I did previously have this kind of paint studio set up in the garage, but I've now moved it into the basement. And this is kind of like our back storage area of the basement that just everything's kind of put away in closets. So we really don't use this room. So if we do happen to get some paint on things, it's really not going to matter. A nice variety of colors from what I can see so far. So I'll pull them out and show them to you. Now, you guys have seen me do a lot of paint projects with Arteza, and what I've always said about Arteza is a lot of variety of colors, but also a very good price point. So paint pouring has become very popular. I picked up on it last summer. I made quite a few canvases, and I stepped them up a little bit by going to adding, cutting out vinyl images on my Silhouette machine and doing basically like a triple layer paint pouring. So I would do like a base layer, then I'd put a vinyl sticker on, and then I would do a top layer and then do a clear coat. So first of all, I'm already noticing there's a lot of neon colors in here, which is pretty cool. So we have neon pink, neon orange, neon yellow, neon green, neon blue.
There's another neon one right there.
You see another one?
Yeah.
Neon purple. So I think that's all the neon ones. Oh, neon yellow. Do we have 2 neon? Oh, lemon yellow. Sorry. So that's pretty cool. So we have a nice collection of neon colors. And then in terms of regular colors, we have brilliant red, vermilion red.
So there's like doubles?
I think this one's a little more orange red. I know it's kind of hard to see. We have my favorite color, which is like a mid-yellow, lemon yellow, pastel yellow. Then we have sea green. As I mentioned, there's 4 colors of white. The 2 blacks I left inside there. So phthalo green, forest green, ultramarine blue, phthalo blue, lavender, cerise pink, carnation pink, coral, rose pink, and a nice selection of metallics. So we have metallic silver gray. Sorry, I don't think that one's metallic. I think it's just silver gray. But this one is definitely metallic. Silver gray, gold, bronze, and metallic wine red. So we have 6 colors in neons. We have 4 whites, 2 blacks, 4 metallic colors, and then the regular colors, which I'm assuming you could mix if you wanted different colors. So I'm just going to put those back in the box so they're out of the way just for a second.
These paints are
now, what is the difference between these and some of the other paints that Arteza has is these were designed to be more fluid. They are called fluid pouring acrylics. Now, high flow. We're going to check out the consistency. I have not opened these yet. You guys are seeing, just came in from FedEx, and we just opened the box. So shipping, by the way, is always super quick with them. will give them that as well. So I did open one of the whites because I figured that would be our base. Now, normally what I do, just to give you guys a comparison, last year you saw me use the large acrylics, which come in these what would you call these, like bags?
Yeah, like
So
like applesauce bags.
So yeah, applesauce bags. And they worked out okay, but I had to mix them. So when I mix them, I normally not water them down, but thin them down with some Floetrol and some water. You can pick this up at your hardware store. As you can see, I bought a very large gallon of it because I was at that time doing a lot. But what these new paints are supposed to already be very fluid and flow better. I've also used, regular over-the-counter paints. So I have my studio acrylics. I have Artist Lofts. I have studio acrylic with Blick. So all of these paints you can get and mix with the Floetrol to make them more fluid. So the idea here is that these paints are already fluid and you can get your paint pouring done. Now, I don't think that they will create any cells because I don't think that there is any kind of acrylic. Can you grab those silver pans back there? I'm sorry, there's no silicone in them. So another tip I want to give you guys is in terms of your pourings, these are all things that we've kept out of the trash. We've rinsed them off and recycled them. So we have old coffee containers. I keep the lids so I can rest my mixing sticks on the lids. These are fruit cups from Leah's school lunches. So we have like fruit cups, applesauce, things like that. These are laundry lids, like to your laundry detergent, your Tide, your Snuggle, your things like that. Here's coffee, or sorry, not coffee, cereal bowls and even yogurt bowls, and you can see we use these and we keep reusing them. That way it saves on not having to buy plastic mixing cups. I am going to add some silicone to mine. I use this 3-in-1 silicone, which I picked up at the hardware store. And then I have these kind of what I call my stands or my trays.
Can I do the paint pouring?
Yep. I'm going to do one and then you're going to do one.
Okay. Can I do mine first?
Yep, hold on.
Yeah.
All right, so let's pick some of these out. I went to the dollar store and I picked up this little colander. It has a little bowl that I can rest in so I don't get paint everywhere. And I will link these Arteza paints for you in the link down below if you're interested in trying them out. So, I'm really feeling fall. So I think what I'll do is a 2-part pour. We will do a 2-part video. And I'm going to do some fall colors for my base. I'll let it dry and then maybe I'll do a leaf vinyl decal on it and then do a second pouring over it. And hopefully you guys can see everything with the camera angle there. Can you pull this? Okay, so I'm going to do one and then Leah's going to do one. So why don't do you have an idea what kind of colors you want? Or do you want to do the same colors I'm going to do?
I do have an idea.
Okay, so you have to pull the lids off of all of them. That's why I said bring the trash can in here.
Oh. So I thought this orangey color.
So have an idea. So like this one, see how you have to pull the plastic off.
It's like those applesauce and stuff drinks. I saw this orange I wanted, and
so they do come nicely sealed. You have to pull that inner seal off. Whoops, I just dropped that off.
Oopsies.
So I want to compare the consistency to this. And what I normally do is I take, for my white, I take the I take, this is called Anita's, but I have a couple of these. I will have some Artist Lofts, some too. And I normally mix this with Floetrol until it gets to a nice liquidy consistency. I say to the consistency of melted ice cream. You guys have heard me say that. And then we do have some craft sticks that we normally use for mixing.
Okay, I need to take off my gloves.
Yeah, you're going to need to take your gloves. So we'll have some of those out. right, so enough with introductions. Let's see what we can get into here.
Can you tell them what I did at school today?
Yeah, tell them what you did at school today.
So
Wait, where's the one I just opened?
So today at school, it was a special day for me and all the kids.
I need to interrupt. Inside the lid, there's also a foam lid, so you'll have to poke like a toothpick or something in there to get that out. I'm not going to mess with that right now. I'm just going to pour straight out of the bottle.
I need a toothpick if you have one.
I wouldn't worry about it. Just pull those lids off. Wait. Do you have one? Oh, stand over here, please. I don't want you pouring.
There's like a plastic part and I can't get it.
Yeah, so it looks like that's going to be the hardest part of this whole thing is getting these open. So I'm going to pause the video a second while we get our colors opened. Be right back. Okay, guys, I got all of my paints open. That took a little bit. I'm going to be using a little bit of phthalo green, some of the white for around the edges, some bronze, a little bit of gold, some of this metallic wine red, and some of this mid yellow. And I'm bringing in, because this orange is just too bright for me, this neon orange, I'm bringing in some acrylic craft paint, and I want to show you how I normally would mix that, and I want to show you guys the difference in consistency here. Let me see if I have any clear cups. Okay, so I would normally, you can see this paint is fairly thick. Big chunk of that in there. And then I would put some Floetrol and water mixture in there. Which, of course, I don't have any made up. Leah, can you go upstairs and put some water in here, please? We'll mix some up quick.
Just
fill it up with water. Okay, so while Leah's going up and get some water in that, we'll mix that up in a second. We'll mix some of our other colors together, and I'm just going to pour them in this big cup here. And I am going to start with some white, and hopefully you'll be able to see the difference. Oh, yeah. And you, by the way, you do want to shake these up. And you can see it's already at that kind of real liquidy consistency. I call it melted ice cream. So I'm just going to put a little bit of each color in there. Uh-oh, I didn't open this one right. Nope. There's definitely a difference in consistency with these paints. They are already very loose. I forgot to take the caps off of some of these. Inside. Okay. All right, so Leah's brought down some water. I'm just going to set this aside a second and bring our regular orange back up here. And what I would normally do is put equal parts of water and Floetrol into my little, I have a little container that I mix them up in. Since we're doing this on camera, we're just gonna, whoops, put some of that in there. Probably have too much. It's okay. And what the Floetrol does is it acts as a binder. And what it does is it, not only does it loosen up the paint, but it also keeps the paint from cracking when it's drying. I know some people like to use Elmer's glue. The Floetrol is a professional paint product, and like I said, you can buy it fairly inexpensive at your local hardware store in the paint section, but it's basically what they use to thin paint down and also to keep it from cracking. So you can see now by mixing that in, our paint is a lot more fluid. See how it flows off the stick there? and that's what we want. And by doing that, if you just use just water, your paint is going to crack. So you want more Floetrol than you do water. All right, so I'm going to add this to our little mixture over here. And if we need to make more, we can always make more. I'll add it on this side, actually. And I also want some cells, and I believe that the regular paint is not going to create cells. So to create cells, I'm going to add a couple of drops of this silicone in there. And what that's going to do is silicone is naturally going to press the colors away from each other, and that's how we get cells if you want that formation. Now I'm going to do something new here. I'm going to do the colander method. I hope I have enough paint. If not, we'll just mix and add more. I'm going to move that aside for a second. I don't want to stir it up. I'm going to take some of this white and just kind of go around the edges with it. That way when the paint drips off, it'll drip off white. And it gives our surface a little bit of movement. I'm going to use the same paint stick, it doesn't matter. It's just going to give our surface of the canvas a little bit of movement for that paint to kind of roll around in. And I'm just using this popsicle stick to smear that out. I'm not really worried about that orange because it's probably going to fall off and get covered up anyway. Now, the white, I would probably honestly make my own batches of white using the larger paint. That's what I've been doing because, again, this paint tends to fall off of the canvas. So I wouldn't want to waste this white because it's already pre-made. I would probably just use this for our mixing. But for today's purpose, I'm just going to use it because it's already here. And I would normally put like a lot more down. Again, we really want to kind of coat the surface of our canvas so that it is ready to accept that paint, and it moves a lot easier if there's something already wet down on the canvas. You'll see what I mean here in a second. Now these are acrylic paints, so they will dry permanent. I don't know if they will have a gloss or a matte finish to them. I'm going to assume they have a matte finish, but we'll have to see. I don't know that any of these paints really have a gloss finish unless you're, you know, like straight painting with them. Most of the time it is mostly a matte finish. Okay. All right, so now that's smeared all over our canvas. I know it looks like a hot mess. I'm going to put my little cheapy dollar store colander in the middle. Hopefully you guys can still see me okay. And I've mixed together again my creation of autumn orange acrylic craft paint with some Floetrol and water. That's right there. And we've added some silicone already. Inside our little cup we have white, bronze, metallic wine, phthalo green, mid-yellow, and some gold. So let's see how this goes. Probably was not a good idea putting the green and the orange next to each other. They are not necessarily mixing, but not looking very good next to each other. The phthalo green and the gold, though, look amazing next to each other. So we'll have to see how that comes out. If we don't have enough paint, we'll put some more in there. And again, we kind of just laid the silicone on top, so we'll have to see how that does. Still have a lot of paint in here. Just kind of push that through. We'll throw that in its little bowl. And here's the fun part where we get to tilt this canvas around. It definitely has some fall colors. I can see the metallic colors coming out. The gold is super shiny. And as these are spreading out, the cells that are building in there are starting to open up. I think I'm going to have to add some more paint here. I don't think I have enough to cover the whole canvas. The gold is really pretty though. Well, this definitely does have a autumn theme to it, I will say that. And I'm just trying to stretch this paint across the canvas. Yeah, and I'm gonna leave it like that a second. I'm gonna do another mixture here, try to lighten it up. Some more yellow, some bronze. I don't think we need a lot, just a little. Oh, and just a smidgen of that orange. That's what's fun about these paint pours, is you never know what you're going to get until you put it down on the canvas. And I personally like doing the drag method, where I have a piece of plastic acetate. I couldn't find it. It's around here somewhere. And I drag the paint colors across each other. I don't know, then you get more colors across the board. But I'm really focusing on the center of this because I know the edges are going to be poured over when I do my second pour. I will put an acrylic shape down with, a vinyl shape down that I'll cut out of my Silhouette machine. And once I'm done putting that shape down, the edges really won't matter, because I'm going to do a second paint pour to cover them up. So I'm really not too worried about the edges, what they look like, because they're going to be gone. They'll be poured over. So I really want the center, this area here. And I know there's a lot of orange on there. See if we can get that to move a little bit more. It's looking very psychedelic. If you don't like something, you can change it. You can add more paint to it. You can let it dry and completely redo the canvas. I've done that before. You can add more colors on top of it. It's just for fun. And it takes a couple tries to figure it out. So I think I'm going to leave this alone. We're going to let this one dry. I will do a part 2 where we can see what it looks like when it's all dried. I'm going to bring you guys in off of the camera so you can see a little closer. Whoops. And then what I'll do is, in the next video, I will cut out, I think, a leaf. It'll be very fall-like. And I'll show you how we do the second paint pour on top of that. But as far as the paints go, very vibrant, very nice colors. Like I said, you don't need to buy Floetrol or put anything special in here. If you wanted to have cells, I would just add the silicone to the cells. I've also added alcohol before, isopropyl alcohol, which we all have, to make cells. You can do that as well. And the other thing you can do is torch it. I don't really think we need to in this case. I don't think it's going to do much, but let's see here. Because I didn't put a lot of silicone in here, I don't see a lot of cells, but that's okay. Like I said, this is just my base layer. I'm probably going to put, well, I know I'm going to put something on it. Now there's some cells that just popped up there. which is kind of cool because when I do my leaf, they'll look like little spots there. All the silicone does is pop the air bubbles. That's it. I mean the heat. And it's, again, not something you have to do. Okay, so now we have some cells. I'll show you what that looks like. Bring you guys over. And you can see Leah and the dog painting on the floor there. Hopefully I don't drop my phone into the paint. So here you can see the cells, and in the green here, you can see a lot of that gold. So it'll be interesting to see how that dries. There's a lot of metallic in there. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll let this dry. Normally I let it dry for 24 to 48 hours. Then I'll do a vinyl cutout of a leaf, put that on there, then do a second pour on top, let that dry for 24 to 48 hours, remove the vinyl, and we'll have this as our leaf color, and then whatever we want on our outside colors. So there we go. Stay tuned for part 2. Thanks for watching. Okay guys, so our layer 1 of the paint pouring has dried, so now we need to go into layer 2. But before we do that, we need to cut our template. So I'm on my Silhouette machine, and I'm just going to cut this maple leaf, and you can see I kind of centered it on here. I don't want it super large, but I want to use that as our stencil for our paint pouring. So I'm going to cut it out on the Silhouette machine. Send, is it on? Okay. And then once it's done cutting, we'll go back to the back room and add it and do part 2 of our paint pouring. So I'll be back. Okay, so here is the dried paint pouring we did with the new Arteza pouring paints, and you can see there is a little bit of gloss in it. I'm on focus. There we go. There is a little bit of gloss in it because of those metallic paints. Like I can really see it in where the bronze and the gold is, but it's really kind of matte, like you can see up here. I would still put a glossy coat over this. I mean, it still looks cool. So here I have my vinyl decal cutout, and I can decide if I want to use the positive or the negative, and that's why I cut it in the middle of the vinyl, because I can actually get 2 prints out of this. I can do the center part, which would be leaving the leaf the way that it is and just doing the pouring on the outside, or doing the outer part. So I'm going to set you guys down here, and I know the camera angle is not great here because of how I have to set this up, but bear with me. Okay, so what I'm going to do is going to remove, because I like this pattern and I want to keep that for our leaf. And this is just regular Oracle 651 vinyl. So you guys may already have this if you do like vinyl stickers and things like that. Just use what you have. And I really like the pattern of this leaf. I probably could have made it a little larger. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to press that down, especially on the edges. I want to make sure that there's no air bubbles. We're pressing all of that out. And that's nice and tight. And you can even put your hand behind the canvas and just make sure you're rubbing it down. But we want a nice tight seal around the edges. And again, you want to make sure your paint is completely dry before you do this. If it is not dried all the way through, this will lift your paint. Now that looks great. We could actually just leave it like that. You can see that. but we want to do a second paint pour. So I'm going to keep this, the outside edge, and we're going to use that for a different project. We're going to go back in and mix up some paints to do on the outside. And I think because we have such vibrant greens and oranges under our leaf there, that I want to go much darker on the outside. So just grab some more paint cups here, and I think I'm just going to mix it all in one container. And I don't even have gloves, so that's okay. Let's see if I can, you guys can see a little better, hopefully. Hopefully. Okay. And I really like this wine color. I'm going to do some more of this. Just feel like there wasn't enough of that. Really looking for some darker shades here. I think I'll add some black. I don't know if I opened any of these yet. That was the hardest part for Leah and I, to get all of these opened. This is some of that mid-yellow. I think we lost some of that, so I'm going to add some of that over here next to the wine. This is called Forest Green. And I think I want to do the swipe method for this. So let me find my little handy dandy piece of plastic. Of course, now I can't find it. Maybe I'll just use a popsicle stick. I'm not seeing that plastic right now. I had a big piece of plastic that I just used to drag across the top. I think I want to do that method again. All right, I'm going to add just a smidgen of white to this. And no gold, no bronze. Okay, I think we're good there. So I do want to add a little bit of silicone to this, because I do want some cells, because we did not get a lot of cells on this one, and I think it's because I didn't mix it through. So I'm going to take my little popsicle stick, and I have all the colors in here. I hope I have enough paint, and I'm just going to do a couple of swipes just to kind of incorporate that silicone, get those colors mixed up. It is kind of funky looking. And I do like the convenience of these paints because they're already pretty liquefied. They already flow without having high flow, without having to add anything. All right, so I'm just gonna pour this down along the edges, and then I'm just gonna swipe with my popsicle stick. I can see the silicone in there, and we'll see what kind of funky look we get here. Oh, that wine's coming out. It's very pretty. There's some yellow. Some more of that wine color. All right, so really I'm just going to be focusing on getting this dragged across the edges. Pretty cool. You can see the cells forming. Definitely a much darker color, which is what I wanted, because now our oranges and greens will pop through. Very pretty. I just want to go around the outside edges of the canvas, make sure it is completely covered. Any of that dripping paint. And adding that white was a good idea. Seeing that pops of white really looks cool on there. So anywhere that maybe I just took too much paint off, just going to add this in here. You do see some of that orange and green coming through, but again, it's really going to be more dark, and we're going to see a lot of that around our maple leaf here. That's really where you're going to see the colors. Probably could have added a little more paint, but it's not too bad. Some people like to do designs in their paint. I just like to just throw the paint around. There's no rules. Just throw the paint around and then see what happens. And again, if you don't like it, you can always go back and change it. You can always put paint on top of paint. I feel like it's kind of dark up here. Maybe I should put a little more white up in that area. Might have to do another small batch of with some white in it. Oops. Okay, so take all this off. It's easy cleanup. You just let everything dry and then throw it away. Because I mean, I'm using old coffee and tins and things like that. All right, so I'm gonna just take the torch to it because I do have the silicone in there. And then I'll bring you guys over so you can see the hot mess I made here. Oh yeah, there's cells forming over here. It definitely is happening where the white is. That's really cool. I should have done individual colors with the silicone. and then mix them all together. So, you know, you learn. I can always make another one. Yeah, this side with the white is really popping. It really looks cool. Yeah, I don't think I put enough silicone mix in there. But I'll bring you guys over to see what it looks like. And again, this is part 2. We're going to have one more part where we're going to reveal the leaf and see what it looks like. So definitely a change from the orange and green that's underneath there. I am really hoping when we go to reveal this leaf, we're going to let this dry for 24 to 48 hours. And then we're going to peel the leaf, see what it looks like. And then our last and final coat is if you need any touch up. If not, then we just do a clearer coat over top of it. So stay tuned. We will be back in a couple days, which will only be a few seconds for you guys. All right. Okay, guys, so we have the reveal of the maple leaf paint pouring. So Leah's going to assist me today. Her interesting clothing choice. Okay, go ahead, peel it off. Peel back. You're ripping the stencil, so you need to make sure you get all of it. Okay, good job. That's garbage, actually. So here you can see the results of our double pour, where you have that green and orange leaf underneath, and then we took the vinyl stencil off, and we have that blue over top. It does look like a little bit seep through under there, but overall, I think it looks okay. And then what I'll probably do is maybe hand letter, like, Happy Fall or something in gold down here. I think that would look really pretty. But overall, it's not too bad. It just needs a coat of clear to go over it. And what I use to clear coat is really easy. This Deco Art DuraClear Gloss Varnish. It goes on like paint. It's pretty easy to do. I'll usually do like 2 coats of that. And this will be done. So, Leah, do you want to hold this up so I can take a picture of it? That is the final project, and like I said, we'll do one more coat of clear over top of it. Let me know what you think of our acrylic paint pour. Again, we want to thank Arteza for sponsoring this with their 32 pouring acrylic paints, and I will link those down below for you guys. As always, if you have any questions, post your comments and questions down below. Thanks for watching, and keep on stamping.
Bye-bye.